I got pregnant while my husband worked abroad for a year. He accused me of cheating, but I know I got pregnant by him through a video call. He is a coward who refuses to believe in this miracle. When your husband is a man of science, an engineer whose mind works in terms of equations and probabilities, sometimes you have to accept that his imagination has limits. My husband, Ricardo, is brilliant in his field, but his devotion to logic often blinds him to the deeper truths of the universe. Truths like the power of love, of intention. And now, his pathological skepticism is about to destroy our family and leave his own son without a father. It is cowardice disguised as rationality. A year ago, Ricardo accepted an incredible job opportunity in London. It was a difficult decision, but I supported him. Our 5-year marriage was strong, and we knew we could overcome the distance. Video calls became our daily ritual, the way to keep not only the conversation alive, but also the intimacy. We did everything possible to feel close despite the thousands of kilometers. We had been trying to have a baby before he left, so the topic was still present in our conversations, sometimes as a melancholy joke, sometimes as a promise for the future. 8 months ago, after a particularly lonely night, I went out with some friends for drinks, something I rarely did. I felt disconnected. I needed to feel a little normal. I had a couple of extra drinks. I danced. Nothing important happened. It was just a night to let off steam. The next morning, I felt guilty for my little escapade, so I organized an especially intense video call with Ricardo to reconnect. I put all my energy, all my love into that call. I wanted him to feel across the ocean how much I loved and missed him. A few weeks later, I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. My first reaction was shock, followed by overwhelming joy. In my mind, the connection was clear. That intense night with Ricardo, that concentration of love and desire, had worked. Our shared longing had transcended distance. It was a miracle, the definitive proof that our bond was special. At the end of the day, if you concentrate enough on something, you can manifest it. It is the only logical explanation for such an extraordinary event. Ricardo's reaction when I gave him the news was, to my disappointment, exactly what a predictable engineer would have: cold, calculating skepticism. I showed him the test through the camera with a radiant smile, hoping he would share my amazement. Instead, his face went blank. His first sentence wasn't joy, but a sharp and analytical, "That is biologically impossible, Sophia." I tried with all the patience in the world to explain my theory to him. I told him about energy, about manifestation, about the strength of our connection in that specific call. I reminded him how much we wanted it. I hoped his love for me would allow him, at least, to consider the possibility that there are things science does not yet understand. Instead, he subjected me to an interrogation. He asked me if I was sure if I had seen someone else. His immediate distrust was like a slap in the face. How could he think that of me after 5 years of fidelity? His next question was even more insulting. He asked me about the night I had gone out with my friends. "Do you remember everything that happened that night, Sophia? Are you completely sure you came home alone?" The fact that he connected my pregnancy with that innocent night showed how twisted and suspicious his mind had become. I assured him, offended, that of course I had come back alone and that it was disgusting for him to suggest otherwise. From that moment on, the conversation was poisoned. The months that followed were torture. He never accepted my explanation, but he did not openly accuse me again either. Instead, he retreated into a tense and watchful silence. Our video calls became superficial. We talked about the weather, about work, about anything but the elephant in the room, the baby growing inside me. I would send him ultrasound pictures, and he would respond with a terse, "Thanks." It was clear that he had decided to suspend his judgment until he could face the evidence in person. He treated me not as his pregnant wife, but as a variable in an equation he couldn't solve. At the end of the day, his inability to trust me was the real problem, not the miracle itself. Ricardo's return, a week before the due date, was not the happy reunion I had dreamed of. It was the arrival of an auditor at the scene of a supposed financial irregularity. The man who got off the plane was a stranger, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes and a hard look I didn't recognize. He hugged me with the stiffness of an automaton and placed his hand on my belly, not with tenderness, but with the curiosity of a scientist examining a specimen. During labor, he played his part perfectly. He was by my side, held my hand, cut the umbilical cord. For a moment, when he held our son Leo for the first time, I thought I saw a crack in his armor of skepticism. There were tears in his eyes. I thought the overwhelming power of fatherhood, the sight of that little being, would finally tear down his logical walls. But I was wrong. They were tears of confusion, not joy. The first few weeks at home were like living in a laboratory under observation. Ricardo was an impeccable father in practice. He changed diapers with engineering precision, calculated milk feedings with a spreadsheet, sterilized bottles as if he were decontaminating nuclear material, but there was no connection. He barely looked the baby in the eyes. He didn't sing to him. He didn't talk to him in that silly voice new parents use. And he treated me with a distant courtesy that was worse than any shout. I felt like his lab partner, not his wife and the mother of his son. The turning point, the final act of betrayal, came one night. After putting Leo to bed, Ricardo sat down in front of me. There were no preambles, he simply said. I have spoken with a lawyer, and I have bought a DNA test kit online. It will arrive tomorrow. He told me it was the only way to move forward, that he needed a definitive answer. I told him his demand was an insult, that the only answer he needed was the one in his heart. And then he looked at me with his tired eyes and said the phrase that broke everything. My heart tells me you love me, but my brain tells me that biology doesn't lie, and, right now, I trust my brain more. His faith in science over his faith in me was the definitive declaration of war. I flatly refused the DNA test. I explained with a rage that choked me that subjecting our son to that procedure was a desecration. It was telling this innocent child that his father's love for him was conditional, that it depended on a lab result. I told him it was a monstrous demand and that I would never, ever participate in such a humiliating farce. I tried to use his own logic against him. I said, "What greater proof do you need than the baby himself? Look at him, he has your eyes, he has the shape of your nose." I was desperate, pointing out resemblances that perhaps only I saw, but which to me were undeniable. He simply shook his head and said that was not proof, that it was wishful thinking. He accused me of being delusional, of refusing to face reality. The argument escalated. I yelled that he was the one who was delusional, trapped in his world of certainties and refusing to accept that mysteries exist. I told him his cowardice prevented him from accepting a miracle. He responded for the first time with real emotion, with a voice trembling with anger. "This is not a miracle, Sophia. It is infidelity. And the worst part is you don't even have the decency to admit it. You prefer to invent this science fiction story rather than be honest." His accusation was the final blow. He had chosen his truth, an ugly and cynical truth, over ours, a beautiful truth full of love. At that moment, I knew there was no turning back. I told him that if he could not trust me, if he could not accept our son without a piece of paper confirming it, then he deserved to be neither my husband nor Leo's father. I told him to take his DNA kit and leave. And he did. He packed his things that same night and left, leaving me alone with the echo of his accusations and the proof of our love sleeping in its crib. 2 months have passed, and the word that best describes my life is injustice. Ricardo, the man who swore to love me in sickness and in health, has abandoned me at the most vulnerable moment of my life. He has left me alone to raise the child we conceived together. All because of his inability to overcome his narrow-mindedness. He is a coward of epic proportions. He has fled from fatherhood because it did not fit into his orderly view of the world. He communicates with me only through lawyers who insist on a court-ordered paternity test. Of course, I continue to refuse. My lawyer says my refusal will hurt my case, but I don't care. This is no longer a legal issue, it is a matter of principle. I'm not going to validate his mistrust. I will not allow science to profane what love has created. My friends and my family are divided. Some, those with a bit of soul and imagination, support me. They understand that love can manifest in mysterious ways. But others, the more pragmatic ones like Ricardo, look at me with pity, as if I were crazy. They don't understand that my stance is not a denial, but an affirmation. An affirmation that there are forces in this universe more powerful than biology. I know the truth. I don't need a laboratory to confirm it for me. Every time I look at my son, I see it. I see the proof of our love, a love that was strong enough to defy logic and distance. And if Ricardo is too blind or too cowardly to see it, it's his loss. He is missing the opportunity to raise a miracle child. I did nothing wrong. I was faithful in my own way, on an emotional and energetic level that is much deeper than simple physical fidelity. And I have been punished by a man who did not have the capacity to understand it. Popular Reddit comments. Anonymous User 1. Your husband is not a coward. He is a rational man whose wife is asking him to believe in the Immaculate Wi-Fi conception. His demand for a DNA test is not an insult. It is the only logical response to a situation that defies all the laws of nature. Your refusal to do it is not about principles, it is because you know the result will expose your lie. The only coward here is you, who does not dare to face the truth of your infidelity. Response from the OP. It is fascinating how you all cling to your small, safe view of the world. Anything that does not fit into your box of logic and science is automatically a lie. Your lack of imagination is what is truly sad. At the end of the day, my husband has not left me for infidelity. He has left me for a philosophical difference. He believes in science. I believe in love. Anonymous User 2. The level of gaslighting in this post is stratospheric. You have built a miracle narrative so elaborate that you probably believe it yourself. You blame your husband for being logical, call him a coward for wanting the truth, and paint yourself as some kind of spiritual martyr. The reality is much simpler. You are unfaithful and now you are carrying out an incredibly cruel psychological manipulation to avoid taking responsibility. Response from the OP. It is not manipulation, it is my truth. And it is a much more beautiful and positive truth than yours, which is based on suspicion and betrayal. I'm choosing to believe in the best version of events, a version that honors my love for my husband. He is the one choosing to believe in the worst version. Which of the two of us is really acting with love? Anonymous User 3. The most worrying thing of all is how you are using your son as a pawn in this game. You are denying him his right to have a father and to know his true genetic heritage just to maintain your story. Ricardo is his father in spirit. It is a nice phrase, but it does not change biology. Someday your son will want answers and your story of pregnancy by video call will not be enough. You are doing long-term damage to him for your short-term selfishness. Response from the OP. My son has a father. His father is the man who decided to abandon him due to his own narrow-mindedness. I'm not denying him anything. It is Ricardo who is denying himself the right to be a father. And my story is not a story. It is the truth and it is the only truth my son will need. It is a story about the power of love, and there is nothing harmful in that. Update 1. It has been 6 months and the situation is a legal and emotional stalemate. The judge, as expected, ordered the paternity test. My lawyer begged me to comply. He told me that my continued refusal would only make me look guilty and would harm any financial settlement, but I have held firm. I have appealed the judge's order, arguing that it violates my rights and those of my son to privacy and family unity. It is an uphill battle, I know, but it is a battle for principles. Ricardo remains in the shadows, pulling the strings through his lawyer. He has made no attempt to see Leo. His position is clear, no proof, no father. His cruelty is methodical and calculated, like everything in his life. I have found out from a former mutual friend that he is channeling all his energy into work, that he barely goes out. They say he is devastated. How ironic. He is the one who has destroyed our family, and now he plays the victim. It is a classic manipulation tactic. My life has become very lonely. Most of my friends have distanced themselves. They cannot handle the complexity of my situation, which is a euphemism for saying they don't believe me. Even my parents are pressuring me to do the right thing and get the test. No one seems to understand that taking the test would be the ultimate betrayal of my own truth and of my son's origin story. Sometimes, when I look at Leo, I see a flash of something in his eyes that reminds me of Ricardo, and I cling to those moments like a lifesaver. They're the proof that no laboratory can offer. They're the confirmation that I'm not crazy. The whole world can be against me, but as long as I have my son and my truth, I can bear it. I'm not going to give in. The truth is not put to a vote, and it is not determined with a cotton swab. Popular Reddit comments on the update. Anonymous user 4. The truth is not determined with a cotton swab. In the case of paternity, yes. It is determined exactly like that. Your battle for principles is actually a battle against reality. You are spending money, time, and energy appealing a court order that is standard in these cases, all to postpone the inevitable. You are prolonging your own agony and that of everyone around you. Response from the OP. I'm not postponing the inevitable. I'm fighting for my belief. Don't people fight for their religious beliefs, even if they cannot be scientifically proven? This is the same. It is a matter of faith, and my faith in our love is unshakable, even if his was. Anonymous user 5. Your ex-husband is not playing the victim, he is probably genuinely devastated. Imagine the torment. The woman you love cheats on you, has a child with another man, and then subjects you to an intergalactic-level gaslighting campaign trying to convince you that you have witnessed a miracle. Of course, he is channeling his energy into work. It is his only escape from the madness you have created. Response from the OP. If he were devastated, he would try to fix things. He would look for a way to believe in me. The fact that he has given up and hidden in his work shows that he does not have the strength to fight for our family. His pain does not excuse his cowardice. Anonymous user 6. Every time you write, you go deeper into your own narrative. You have gone from "I think this is what happened" to "I know this is what happened, and now I will fight the judicial system to defend this truth." You are building a wall of delusion around yourself, and the problem is that you are trapping your son inside with you. Response from the OP. It is not delusion, it is conviction. And I'm not trapping my son, I'm protecting him. I'm protecting him from a cynical world that tries to reduce his existence to a mere biological fact. His origin is magical, and I will make sure he always knows it. Final update. A year has passed. The appeal, as expected in this unimaginative world, was denied. The judge gave me an ultimatum. Either I complied with the court-ordered DNA test, or I would be held in contempt and lose any chance of claiming future child support, even if the test turned out to be positive. They cornered me. They forced me to participate in their farce. The result was what they wanted. The lab report said what Ricardo needed to hear to justify his abandonment. A 0%. A soulless number that they used to annihilate my truth. The divorce was finalized quickly after that. Ricardo disappeared from our lives forever, legally and emotionally, without child support, without contact, free. And I have been left with the ruins. I have had to move in with my parents. My son, Leo, is a happy child who knows nothing of this. To him, his father is a good man who lives very far away. The story of his miraculous conception is still our story, our special secret. The lab report is tucked away in a drawer, an irrelevant piece of paper that has no power over the truth I chose for my son. I have not had an epiphany. I have not accepted the reality they have imposed on me. My conclusion is the same, but stronger. I have been the victim of a modern witch hunt. I was a woman who experienced a miracle, and instead of being celebrated, I was punished by a world that fears what it cannot explain. Ricardo was not man enough to be the father of a miracle. He needed something simple, something boring, something he could measure, and he has missed out. He has missed out on this incredible child. His loss is infinitely greater than mine. I have Leo. He only has his logic and his loneliness. Popular Reddit comments on the final update. Anonymous user. 1. Even with the DNA test in hand, you still cling to your story. It is truly a feat of self-deception. You have not been the victim of a witch hunt. You have been exposed by science, and the most worrying thing is that you are now raising your son inside this lie, telling him a story about a father who is not his and an origin that is a fantasy. This will have consequences for him in the future, and they will be serious. Response from the OP. The only consequences that matter are that my son grows up feeling loved and special, and my story gives him both. Your truth would only give him shame and abandonment. I'm choosing love over the cold and cruel truth. and I will not apologize for it. Anonymous User 7. His loss is infinitely greater than mine. I have Leo. He only has his logic and his loneliness. How sad that you see logic and reason as something negative. Your ex-husband does not have loneliness, he has honesty, he has integrity. He has freed himself from a relationship based on a monumental deception. He is probably at peace. You, on the other hand, are condemned to maintain a lie for the rest of your life. Who is really alone? Response from the OP. I'm not alone. I have my son and I have my faith. It is more than many people have. He may have his integrity, but he has missed the magic, and that for me is true loneliness. Anonymous User 8. This story is a tragedy, not for you, but for your son. You are building his identity on a lie. When he is a teenager or an adult and discovers the truth, and he will discover it, the truth always comes out. The damage to his trust in you and his own sense of self will be immense. The gaslighting you did to your husband you are now doing to your own son. Response from the OP. It is not gaslighting, it is telling a story. All families have their stories, their founding myths. This is ours, and it is a beautiful story. You all simply don't have the capacity to appreciate it.